Alright, folks, today we're exploring why she feels no jealousy towards the professor and Min Kyung's exchanges, instead seeing herself as the household superhero. Now, she's more determined than ever to complete her knitting, having never stepped into the professor's hideout. She thinks it's the prof's private lair and invisible supporter, like a devoted fan. Min Kyung has switched to a lively mode, like flipping a light. Though lost in art, she finds the professor's voice music to her ears. Subtitles. The line between her and the professor is clear, yet she follows the professor on this magical artistic journey. Min Kyung often chats with the prof, asking, "Prof, where's my green rice field? And can the car beside the studio still fly?" Instead of explaining, the professor just revved up the car and took Min Kyung on a ride along the rice field. They sped into the distance, where the rice field ended in a shimmering sea. At that moment, Min Kyung seemed transformed, worries gone. Everything seemed to fleetingly vanish, leaving her feeling the pressures of life, while a new job opportunity awaited her like the dawn. Her husband ignored Min Kyung, busy snatching her hard-earned money from the cupboard, a real hero. Min Kyung stepped up to stop him, but got greeted with enthusiastic hospitality instead. She had zero dignity living in this home, and after a hard day's work, finding her husband working out with another woman meant more punches were waiting for her. Her husband didn't just ruin her life, he demolished her good times. The next day, when Min Kyung showed up at the professor's place with her battered face hidden under a big hat, she still couldn't hide her heartache. The professor asked kindly, "Does it hurt?" Her smile sent ripples of warmth through him, stirring the artist's soul within. She kept on creating, perfectly aligning with the professor's needs. Her graceful movements and skillful techniques not only amazed the professor, but also made the world a tad more beautiful. After days of work, the professor felt ill again, and the old doctor said sternly, "Haven't you had enough?" Yet the professor had his own ideas, just wanting to create perfect works. Meanwhile, his wife occasionally had the maid bring Min Kyung snacks. Min Kyung felt grateful. In her heart, the professor and his wife were like her angels, and she wanted to repay them in any way possible. This was her only wish, and for the first time, she poured out her emotions, feeling the beauty of life despite its challenges. Her fate wasn't as lovely as her figure. It was full of surprises and risks. Her first husband had died in the war, and at that time, they already had a child. Hope lingered in her heart when news arrived, but soon, soldiers came, saying her husband had entrusted her to them. However, that night, things changed, and the man revealed his true nature, forcing her into silence. All the evils were in his grasp, and she felt like a little lost bird without support. This devil became her second husband, and this marriage was worse than ever. She was forced to go out and earn money while he only indulged in gambling and drinking. Seriously, should we make a move? The professor felt pained by his experiences, but everyone was merely an observer. What can observers really do? Yet unexpectedly, the professor felt hope deep down. Days passed, and before leaving for work, he reminded the family. He instructed them to advance 2 months' pay to Min Kyung, and she gradually adapted to life in the studio, finding new motivation. She began to wonder why the professor's sculptures lacked faces, realizing he wanted the audience to focus on the essence of the work. But Min Kyung had a different take, saying, "Are these works doubtful, sad, or happy? I know all." The heartfelt words seemed to inspire the professor, who approached the sculpture to re-evaluate his work. Perhaps, just as she said, adding expressions could break through the artwork, the professor decided right then. Therefore, he wanted to infuse the sculpture with emotion, and the perfect candidate was Min Kyung. Just as he was to start, a man rushed in Min Kyung's husband, boxing her. He had heard gossip outside, thinking there was something improper between the professor and her what a jealous guy. The professor stepped out to intervene, but was shoved to the ground, and seeing the sculpture's likeness made him livid. The man went berserk, trying to destroy the artwork, and Min Kyung could only cry from the sidelines, begging him to stop. She yearned for that sense of freedom, only to watch her other self be ruthlessly destroyed. The man's fury still remained unabated, dragging Min Kyung along like trash towards the utterly wrecked home. Min Kyung got kicked hard, almost falling, but she held on and got back up, determined to escape. Dragging her battered body, she staggered toward the professor. Perhaps that was her only safe haven. When the professor summoned Kyung again, his eyes brimmed with regret. She couldn't contain her grief, leaning on his shoulder and sobbing. Maybe it was her tough fate, or perhaps the memories of those true experiences, but a flood of pain washed over her heart. The next day, when she woke up, she bumped into the professor's wife returning home, who had heard what had happened and sighed with compassion, truly feeling sorry for Min Kyung's situation. Eventually, she had the maid send Min Kyung's husband a sum of money, hoping he'd leave her alone. After this incident, the professor's health took a turn for the worse, yet he seemed to grasp the true essence of art. She began to work with the ruined clay, pushing herself to create art. Even though her body was failing her, she kept striving to do just a bit more. However, the doctor told her the professor was near death, and the knitted sweater wouldn't fit him. The only thing keeping her going was her beloved art, and upon hearing this, even the strong facade she maintained broke down into tears. Late at night, the wife worried about the doctor's words, fearing that one day the professor wouldn't wake up again. Her heart was filled with fear, yet before the man she loved, she still tried her best to stay calm. Finally, she cautiously walked to her beloved studio along her husband's daily path, bathed in moonlight. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Let's explore more interesting stories together.